Dude, I need to rage bait a little bit. Like, actually, I kind of need to rage bait a little bit. I need to share the pain. I can't be the only one who's feeling this way right now. Because I know a lot of you guys aren't actually upset about all of this. Like, you need to understand what I'm feeling right now. I'm down to make a kid design tier list of like all the characters since the start of Natlan. I feel like at this point the older character, like, it's just been so long. It's hard to rate the design of something that like you're just so used to in a way, right? Like, it's like I don't remember what I thought when this came out. Like, and at this point, it's just like rate the color of the sky. Like, I don't know, man. It's just blue. Start with Fontaine. Okay, I can start with Fontaine. I'm down. I'm not gonna do Sumeru though. That actually has been too long. And also, a lot of the Sumeru kid design wasn't kid design. It was just novelty of the new reactions, and it worked well even if the kid was boring. Okay, Lenny kid design. C. I think C is fine. I like the idea of it, right? Having his charge attack consume his HP and the skill heal it back up. I wish it mattered instead of just making him a tiny bit squishier. Lenny should have had Arlecchino's passive where he can't heal and make it so that he consumes like 10% of his HP on charge attack, but he heals 20% per stack on skill, so that his like HP consumption mechanic is HP positive, but it's the only way he can heal. I think that would have been a lot more interesting than what he actually has. Because like with what he has, the HP consumption mechanic doesn't work. Like, it doesn't matter. And nothing else in his kit is really interesting, right? Next, Lynette. Lynette goes in B because, like, it does what it's supposed to do. Whatever. Like, she's there, like, VV plus maybe Aura sometimes. Like, whatever. Cool. Furina is S, 100%. I mean, he's the one I use as the example of a great kit design that got shafted by balance. Like, 100%. Navia. I'm just gonna put him here just so he can be there and I can think. He's not going in B. I actually think he has a pretty good kit design. Like, you guys are confusing gameplay and kit design. His gameplay is boring. But we're not talking about gameplay. We're talking about kit design. Like, his gameplay loop is basically use skill and burst to generate a resource that you can use to enable the charge attack. But because the skill and burst have cooldowns that don't line up comfortably with each other, it creates a lot of room for different rotations you can end up doing. Doesn't a good kit can translate to a good gameplay? Dude, I have Furina in S tier. Like, do you think anyone enjoys playing him? No. You would if he did damage? Nah. That's something that someone who's never put Furina in their party would say. Do you have any idea how fucking awful his abilities feel to use? He's one of the clunkiest characters in the game. Jesus Christ. Next, Risley. That's a D tier kid design. If Risley was released before Wanderer, it might not be D tier kid design. But like, actually the only difference between his abilities and Wanderer's abilities is that his abilities consume HP. That's it. They're both catalyst users with an elemental skill that enhances the damage of their normal attacks for a set duration, and an elemental burst that when you use it, it does 5 instances of elemental damage. Like, they are actually just, it's straight up a copy paste, but it's light blue instead of light green. Furina goes in A tier. Days without Furina Slander 1? Holy shit! Furina is kind of a Plague on Future character kit design, but because her design warped kit design a lot, and that's kind of a good thing. Like, Furina is the reason why Shannon is so dog shit, right? But Genshin just doesn't really have meaningful differences between healing and shielding, at least pre-Furina, because enemies' damage is easy to dodge, but pretty high instances of damage. In the sense that, like, usually if you can heal back up with a healer, it's probably because the amount of damage you took was less than what would have gone through a shield. Otherwise, you're dead and you can't heal at all. And it makes it so that, like, at least defensively, shields and heals kind of just fulfill the same role. Their survivability in effectively the same way, with shields having added resistance to interruption, so they're kind of just better by default. But you can get resistance to interruption without a shield. It's not unique to shields. And Furina created a way to actually make healing and shielding meaningfully different, which is good for the game because I think it's boring if healing and shielding are just the same thing. The bad part of her kit design is the way that characters were balanced after her, like for the next year after her, because they just made the healers way too weak to make up for it, right? Like, there's a reason Xianyun was dog shit, there's a reason Sigwitty is, yeah. And it took him a while to learn that, like, that just wasn't a good idea. Like, if a healer is good, like, it just doesn't feel good to put a character on your team just for Furina's passive. And it took them until she loaded to realize, okay, well, maybe we should just make these characters standalone acceptable. Otherwise, they're kind of just shit, basically. Charlotte! I mean, Charlotte doesn't really... Dude, I don't know, man. You guys remember V1 Charlotte when she could short hold her E and still get all the particles from it? And then they thought, you know what? That's too strong. Let's nerf her. But that kind of is a design decision, right? The fact that, like, in order to actually get any value out of the hold E, you have to full hold it. And that's a bad design decision, in my opinion. Doesn't see. It's not as bad as Risley, but it's pretty boring. Not much to say. Navia. Navia is basically, like, the beta version of lunar reactions. And I fucking hate lunar reactions. So I feel like I can't justify liking Navia's kit design. But that's kind of a similar thing to like the warp on the meta that Furina had on healers released after her. So I don't know if I wanna hold it against her specifically, or if I just hold it against the lunar characters directly. I think the biggest issue with Navia's kit design is that you just don't gain enough from getting full 6 bullets. Might as well say Feminine no S if we're talking damage, but it's not about that. Like, it's not that her E doesn't do enough damage, it's that her burst by itself basically gets you 3 bullets on each E, and the gain from triggering Crystallize is just not that high, because you only need 3 bullets to max out the motion value. It's just boring. It should have been more linear scaling per bullet, basically, is what I'm saying. It's a numbers problem, not a design problem, but it is a design problem. Like, it was a design decision to make it so that you would need 3 bullet for the ability to function, and then the 3 bullets after that just make it do a bit more damage. Like, that is not a balanced decision. That's a design decision. I don't see that as a problem. But the whole thing that's supposed to be cool about Navia's design is that she gives you offensive power out of triggering Crystallize, but she actually just doesn't. Like, that's just straight up not true. That isn't a thing that you care about, because you get the 3 bullets you need just from pressing the burst button. You don't even need to trigger Crystallize. So it doesn't actually do shit. It's a fake-ass passive. I assume Crystallize was more a secondary thing. I mean, sure, if you're assuming it's a secondary thing that's just basically a small, like, damage number, and it's not the crux of the kit, then what the fuck is the crux of the kit? Our skill that nukes and then you normal attack? That's boring as fuck. I just don't think it's a good kit design. It's like, there's a cool element in there, and it's, like, not used in an interesting way whatsoever. Kind of like Lenny. Showa's... Yeah, let's fucking... Showa's kit might be the worst design since Fontaine. I don't know if it's the worst. It's definitely worse than the lunar characters, for sure. Should have made her do decent damage. I mean, she kind of can do decent damage. That's not really what it's about. You just overhate elemental restrictions, don't you? I mean, I hate elemental restrictions. I don't think it's overhate. How would you compare it to Nilou? At least Nilou has an actually interesting way to warp what the reaction she's forced to do is. So this is just numbers on a character that restricts team building. And, like, you can make the argument, she doesn't actually restrict team building, she creates new archetypes, and, like, I get that, but it's a gacha game, and those new archetypes are only available if you fucking spend money on the characters, and that sucks, and it's awful, and I hate it. Xianyun kid design. A, I think. She really shouldn't have been Animo, man. Like, give her 20% shred, make her another element. She would have felt so much better. What element should she have been? It's not about, like, a elemental identity, because, like, she doesn't really fit any of the other elements. It's just Vivi's existence makes Xianyun feel so much fucking worse. Because Xianyun's kit is not good at triggering Vivi. It's really bad. It has so much anti-synergy with the sort of things you want to do to trigger Vivi. It's cool to enable jumps on characters. Like, that's just a cool thing. Gumming kit design. Probably yes, actually. He's kind of just, like, really interesting. The RNG on the lion is so annoying. I agree that it's annoying, but I also think it makes it better. I think that's a good decision. Because he'd be a lot more boring if the lion was consistent. It makes his gameplay feel very interactive. It's just the 4 stars in S. I mean, we also have a 4-star in fucking garbage, so, like, I think the one thing I don't like about Gumming's kit design is I don't think his state should disappear on swap. Because it'd be so cool if you could, like, do a plunge, swap out to refresh aura or refresh a buff, and then swap back to Gumming, catch Montai, and just keep going and just keep repeating that. That'd be so fucking sick. But yeah, I guess that would be ping reliant gameplay, so maybe it's good that it's not that way. Alright. Chiori kit design. This one mechanic is kind of interesting. The Geoconstruct incentive is like, eh. I don't dislike the incentive to run Geoconstructs. I just don't think that C1 should remove that incentive, right? So if C1 is giving you 1 extra tomato, then it should make it so that your tomato limit is now 3, not 2. So that you still have the incentive. I mean, whatever. Go in C tier. Arlecchino. Man. Why did they make her immune to healing, man? They really shouldn't. Both Arlecchino and Claren's kit design is so much more boring because healing doesn't interfere with Bond of Life. With Clarine it does. With Clarine, healing is helpful. It gives you Bond of Life. But like, outside of Sigwinny, because she's not a real character, we only have 2 characters that have Bond of Life in their kit. Bond of Life's thing, like what it is by definition, it's something that gets applied to your character that gets consumed when you heal, right? Where like, healing will remove Bond of Life instead of healing you. And both of the characters whose kit designs around Bond of Life remove the very fucking nature of Bond of Life. Healing does not remove Bond of Life for those 2. That's stupid. Why would they do that? Why make it Bond of Life at that point? Why? Why is that a thing? They should have made it so these characters don't have immunity to healing and Bond of Life. And if you put a healer on their team, you lose Bond of Life. And you get cooked, which shows the healer and you wanted Overload to be their best, and they wanted Overload to be their best teams, then they shouldn't have wanted Overload to be their best teams. Or they shouldn't have made Shavar's a healer. And like, Bennett doesn't heal unless you're getting hit to below 70% HP, which would have added such a cool element to Arlecchino, where like, Bennett is worth using on your team because he's the best teammate, but if you're getting hit, he becomes actively a downside. Like, that's cool. That's sick, man. It's annoying, not cool. I mean, you can think that, but like, games aren't necessarily better if every single aspect of them is intended to spark joy. It's good to have things that will sometimes be frustrating. I'm glad Molani's in the game. And why should I pull for a character that I know is going to be annoying and restrictive? You don't have to. If you fucking hate that, then you can go for other things. And if you don't want Arlecchino to be one of those characters, then just design her in a way where the Bond of Life isn't fucking important. Or don't make her Bond of Life. Or don't call it Bond of Life. Why is it Bond of Life if it's not Bond of Life? Bond of Life is by definition absorbing your healing. And it doesn't do that. Why does it not do that? Why? Why? Sorry. I just think it's so stupid. I do think that if you forget about how Bond of Life works outside of these 2 characters, I actually think Arlecchino's kit design is pretty cool. And it kind of frustrates me that I can't put her in A because of how fucking awful it is that Bond of Life isn't Bond of Life. I'm gonna put her in B. It's not for boring, though. Like, whatever. Client! I mean, she's got the same problem as Arlecchino, but I don't think she has the same heights. I don't think her kit is anywhere near as interesting outside of the Bond of Life stuff. She's gonna go and see. Bro, I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know how Sigwinny's Bond of Life mechanic works. Like, I need to read it. Give me a second. I actually forgot about this. Did they really release a Bond of Life support whose only purpose is healing right after Bond of Life carries that can't be healed? Yeah, okay. You go with Risley, man. Alright, whatever, man. Let's move on. Jesus Christ, that's so dumb. Oh my. That's why I didn't remember what it did. I just deleted it from my memory, man. Jesus fucking Christ. That is awful. Alright, Sethos. Sethos is probably A. Maybe S, actually. Like, if we're including the charge level 1 as part of, like, the kit design, then he does definitely S. But I don't know if we should. Probably, right? Like, that's kind of intended. That's definitely intended. Emily kit design. It's pretty boring. So I think it just goes in B. There's really not much to say about it. Molani! Okay, Molani's kind of an interesting one because she gets carried pretty hard by the fact she was the first vape carry, like forward vape carry. It's straight up just like you build up your resource and then you use a chomp, and then you do that 3 times and then you're done. I do feel like they kind of gutted her kit design when they went from V1 to V2. I think it was V1 to V2 beta Molani, because I think it was the very first version of Molani that had a lot more of the damage in the initial hit, like in the thing that happens no matter what on a chomp, and a lot less of it in the 3-stack chomp. Yeah, like, Molani's kit design would be so much more interesting if there was ever a time where when you wanted to not do the 3-stack chop when you're playing her as a carry. I think it goes in A. Kachina. Yeah, it goes in B for boring, whatever. Kanich. Yeah, Kanich has a similar problem to Navia, where he has a potentially interesting aspect of his kit, but they kind of just made it not matter. Like, the quadrant thing for Kanich is interesting, and if it mattered at all, I think Kanich would be a lot more interesting. But they made it so that it's basically the same speed whether you go for the quadrants or not. It should not have been the same speed. It just should not. The quadrant should have appeared a bit earlier, so you have time to react to it, and you should need to go to the quadrant to get enough, like, to get the skills in time properly. I think if they had done that, I think I would have had him in S, but because of that, he's gonna go in A. Shilonen! B for boring. I mean, there's not much to say. Like, she exists. Like, okay, cool. Chaska! If bullet, like, order was not random, I would have made a whole new category for her in SS. But because it's random, I won't. She goes in S. Really cool kid design, honestly. Ororon. Boring. Mawika. Why did they make Fighting Spirit a thing? I want to put her in S, but I can't. Fighting Spirit makes it so I can't put her in S. Like, I want to, but I just can't. I can't justify it when Fighting Spirit is a thing. Also, when are they adding Fighting Spirit and Serpent Subtlety to the resources you can fill for players in Meliostra? Fucking hell. I'm so tired of spinning like an idiot to fill up my Mawiko burst so I can test my team, and then waiting 15 seconds for skill cooldown. Just fucking put it in already, man. Jesus Christ. Seedlolly. D? Why D? What? She just applies cryo? Yeah, in what way is that anywhere close to as bad as fucking Wanderer but cryo, or Bond of Life focused support, who doesn't work with the only Bond of Life focused carries that exist? Probably just B for boring. Lanyan! B for boring. Yume Glorp Glorp. Bro, can I be honest? Yume Glorp Glorp is kind of an A kit design. The reason why it matters that you don't get enough of an increase for the bullets from Navia is because, like, it's not like the skill doesn't do damage. It's just that the skill's output doesn't change that much whether you warp the gameplay around it or not. For Yume Glorp Glorp, it's true that the amount of damage increase you get from her skill on Swirl isn't that high. But, like, that's just because she's fucking dog shit, right? I do like the idea of an Animo character that incentivizes triggering Swirl while you're on field, especially because the Swirl buff applies to off-fielders too while she is on field. Like, there is some really cool stuff in there. It's just that the numbers are too low. And for Navia, it's not that the numbers as a whole are too low, it's that the balancing of the numbers is warped in a way where you're not incentivized to care about the mechanic. With Yume Glorp Glorp, the numbers just suck as a whole. It's not where the power budget is attributed. It's just that she sucks. Varessa. Varessa goes in A. The mini burst stuff conceptually is really cool, but for Varessa specifically, it kind of isn't that cool because it's not like she has a mini burst and a big burst. She just has one burst and it costs 30 out of her 70 energy. The fact that her big burst is so complete dog shit, the only reason to ever use it is with the cons, and C6 Varessa doesn't even fucking do. Like, she doesn't even use it. Or, like, she doesn't have a big burst and a mini burst. She just has a 30 energy burst that doesn't have a cooldown. That's still interesting, right? Having a 30 energy burst that doesn't have a cooldown where, like, it's a trigger condition decided by other things. But Flynn's kind of just did it better. The problem is that Flynn's came after, so he doesn't get the credit of being the first one to do it. And being the first one to do it is worth something. Eon-san. Is Eon-san S? She might be, honestly. Like, the main thing I don't like about Eon-san is the power of the cons compared to C0, but, like, that's not really a design thing. That's just a fucking gotcha bullshit thing. I also don't like that in co-op, Eon-san is literally just a fucking child that does nothing. Like, what? Like, what the fuck? They really should have made her buff work in co-op, because it's really fucking stupid. But, I mean, I'm not taking co-op into account, whatever. I mean, okay. I think I'll put her in A, because I don't think movement matters enough. Movement should matter a bit more. Escoffier! Yup, here we go again. That goes in fucking garbage. Aoife! Yeah, them releasing Aoife, like, 2 patches after Yume Glorp Glorp was just, like, kind of fucked up. I actually think that Aoife's kit design is a lot less interesting than Yume Glorp Glorp. Like, fuck Taser. Like, stop trying to make it, like, it's not interesting. Whatever. Goes in B. Kind of just B for boring. Skirk. So, okay, here's the thing. Zajef and Escoffier are here, and for the very same reasons, I could put Skirk here. But the thing with Zajef and Escoffier is, like, pretty much the only thing they do is add a restriction and give you numbers for it, right? As a carry, Skirk has a design aspect of her kit outside of just the elemental restriction. I actually do think that there's a few interesting things in Skirk's kit. I like that you have two different ways to use the burst. I like the Serpent Subtlety stuff. I actually don't mind the Void Rifts. The only real problem with it is the elemental restriction. It's a big fucking problem, but unlike these two characters, there's a lot of good too. I actually think Skirk actually has enough going for her to make it in C, despite the elemental restrictions. Dahlia. Surprise baptism. Why does his E make you jump? And why can Varka die as a result of jumping with Dahlia's E? I mean, I don't know. B for boring. Whatever. Move on. Inefa. Alright. It's time. It's time. It's time. Inefa is probably the worst lunar design. Because there's really fucking nothing in there that's, like, interesting. Like, at least the carries have an actual gameplay loop outside of just deploy your thing, so there's something to look at there. And with the other support, Llama's Burst is somewhat interesting, and Moondrifts are... and just Lunar Crystallize as a reaction is way more interesting than the other two lunar reactions, so Linnea's got that going for her. Inefa's just really got nothing. So I think Inefa goes in D. She joins Risley and Seguini. Llama. So here's the thing, okay? I don't hate Verdant Dew as a mechanic, as a way of, like, incentivizing potential flexibility in terms of where you use Verdant Dew. A resource that's shared by your whole team where you have to choose which character you use it on is cool. The problem with it is that there was never a reason to use it on Llama and Nefer teams before Columbina, and there's never a reason not to use it with Columbina. But I think that's more so issues with Nefer and with Columbina's design than it is an issue with Llama's design. Other than the fact that Lunar Bloom is the most boring reaction by default, I actually like Llama's kit design, I think the most out of any Nodcry character. I think she makes it an A. I know, B for boring. She's just there. Flynn's. I mean, like I said earlier, I think that the way that the, like, mini burst stuff is done with Flynn's is a lot more interesting than the way that it's done with Verissa, but he doesn't get credit for doing it first like Verissa does. And I think that's kind of... is that the only thing he's got going for him? Kinda, yeah. So I think it just goes in B for boring. Nefer. Seeds of Deceit are probably the worst thing that happened in the Luna versions. They are probably the worst mechanic released in the past, like, 2 years. It's like, not only does it not do anything interesting or dynamic, it's also removing something that was doing something interesting. Like, Blooms would have been a very interesting part. I mean, when you play Columbina carry, you notice it, right? Like, having more Dendro and Hydro application isn't necessarily good because you only have 36 instances of Llama's buff, and you need to allocate that as much as possible towards Lunar Bloom damage. So you don't care that much about triggering more Blooms, triggering more Hyper Blooms and whatnot, because it's not as big of a damage increase as it would be if it wasn't for the limited amount of instances that Llama can buff your Bloom damage. And that's really cool. And with Nefer, goodbye anything interesting and fun. Outside of Seeds of Deceit actively making her kit worse, she's kind of just like, whatever. So I think she still makes C. Or like she's at the very top of D. Durin. Why the fuck did they give Durin 2-hit ICD on his burst? No, like, actually. No, like, why? Like, actually, why? Why did they do that? What's wrong with that? It's just... Dark Durin's whole thing is reacting... is, like, hyper buffing your reaction damage and not doing shit for your non-reaction damage. And then half of your fucking hits are not reaction damage. Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, at that point, just make it slower and hit harder and give it no ICD. Or make it hit less at the same speed and give it no ICD. Just, like, why is it like this? I know a lot of people don't like that Durin isn't a really good support for Cryo and Hydro characters. I don't mind it. I actually think that's good design, if anything. Because if he could shred Cryo and Hydro, they would have nerfed the fuck out of him. Because otherwise he would have been way too good for Vape and Melt, right? So his numbers as a whole would have been way lower, and he would have been dog shit everywhere else. Like, he's already not that good in the other team. Like, I'm glad they did it that way. I don't know. I feel like there's some good, there's some bad, but it balances out to be whatever. Yahoda, oh god. Okay, maybe I lied when I said Inefa was the worst Nalcry design. Sorry, she just shouldn't have. You shouldn't need the aura to stay on the enemy to fill up the fucking bar. It should just fill up over time, and then whichever aura was there for the largest amount of time is what she absorbs. Why does she stop absorbing if the aura disappears? Like, actually, what were they thinking? Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, and then on top of that, why does she need Ascendant Gleam? Nothing in her kit actually, like, does anything lunar. Why? Why? Jesus Christ. It's fucking awful, man. Jeez. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. You know what? I'm putting my foot down. Yahoda in fucking garbage, actually. I forgot about the Ascendant Gleam bullshit. Yeah, that goes in fucking... That deserves a fucking garbage. Fair enough. Alright. Columbina kit design. Can I split up Columbina into 3 different lunar teams? Because, like, they're all so different. Carry Columbina is a really cool kit design, unironically. Like, actually S-tier level of cool kit design. And Columbina for the other 2 is, like, C. Averages to B, whatever, man. Zabai. So, I like playing Zabai. I think that her base gameplay loop is pretty fun. But that's kind of just a result of, like, combo stuff. More so than actual kit design. And kit design-wise, she's pretty fucking boring. But, like, she's more boring than B for boring would hint at. I think she goes in C. Ilua probably goes in C as well. Maybe in D, honestly. Yeah, probably in D, actually. Varka. Okay, how good is Varka's kit design? Like, honestly, like, no jokes, no lies. Honesty and seriousness only. Like, his kit restriction sucks, but it doesn't suck nearly as bad as these 2 characters. I think he ends up in B overall. Because, like, I do think it's pretty cool that some of his combos are a lot more skewed towards absorb damage than others. Because his N1 is only absorb damage and no animo. So the shorter your attack string is, the more of your damage is absorb damage. That's kind of cool. Okay, restrictions plus worthless burst. I mean, okay. Worthless burst doesn't actually matter, because, like, his skill is basically just his burst. It's just that you press elemental skill to use it instead of burst. Flynn's mini burst, in terms of how it interacts with the rest of his kit, without looking at the fact that, like, that's where all the damage is, but just looking at, like, what the gameplay loop is, Flynn's mini burst is basically the same as Varka's enhanced attack, whether it's on the skill on the chart attack, right? It's just that you use the burst button for it and that it costs energy, whereas with Varka you don't. But the base gameplay loop is still basically the same. I think Flynn's is a better design as a whole because of the big burst stuff. If it wasn't for the big burst stuff, they would basically be the same. Although I guess, yeah, then you add the elemental restrictions. He's probably in C. Okay, fair enough. He's in C. Linnea. What do you mean? A. A for absolute garbage. I think Linnea goes in C. Nicole. Nicole in B for boring. Wow. All field attack buff. Love that. That's fine. Lohan. Yeah, Lohan in S, obviously. Although I don't think he's at the top of S. Like, the fact that his N1C is so good that it makes his skill kind of like barely a DPS gain feels pretty awful. That's another loss of him being limited. It means that C1 isn't a default assumption. C1 kind of fixes that design issue, right? You still use the skill because XR. Yeah, but it doesn't feel good. It won't feel good to use the skill, man. But that's the only problem I have with his design. And it's not entirely design. Wheelchair DPS is not really great design. I think people need to realize that Lohan is not Navia. Like, 30% of your team's DPS and 50% of your team's DPS are very different. Lohan is not getting wheelchaired. Lohan has a kit that forces you to have off-field damage and also pretty good numbers, right? Like the reason why you play Inefa with Flynn's isn't because Flynn's kit inherently forces you to have off-field damage dealers. It's just because Flynn's just kind of doesn't have the numbers to be played as a hyper carry. Lohan kind of, like, I don't know, man. I feel I just like he also kind of doesn't have the numbers to be played as a hyper, but like he does kind of also. Like he's pretty much locked to melt in practice. I mean, it's melt enabling and also rev melt. And also, it's not that he's locked to those, it's just that those are the only ones that are, like, very powerful. But, like, what prevents him from being played in freeze? You can play him in freeze, it's just a bit worse, because, you know, Furina. Okay, Prune. Yeah, that goes on the fucking garbage tier. My god. Jesus Christ. He's worse than he... Oh, yeah, 100%. 8 different buffs slop. Dude, it's so bad. It's so fucking bad. She has, like, 33 trigger requirements for 28 different buffs and like 8 team building restrictions and like, dude, Jesus, like, fuck off, man. Only girls on the garbage team. Don't blame me, blame Hoyo. I'm not the one who made their kid designs this bad. Hoyo is.
Oh my god, I'm blooming!
I'm so sorry.